Good agents aren't made in good markets. Good agents are made in awful markets.
It's not always who's the best, it's who's the most known. The thing is, like, people are coming in that truly are not as good of an agent. They're just making headway because they know how to grab attention.
Every type of marketing isn't going to work for each person, right?
Sure.
So you have to figure out what works for you.
We have a saying around here, consistency is the only real cheat code. Just love that because it really kind of brings it home. This is truly the only way that you're going to win.
There's enough business in this town for everyone. I think if you build a good reputation, you're easy to work with, and you continue to be consistent and you use the technology, it's limitless.
Marcie, welcome in.
Thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. So I wanted to bring you in for a couple different reasons. One of the first reasons is because we have some cool history together. And then second, this is Real Estate Visionaries. And so the people that come onto this podcast are, they're people that have probably been doing this for a little while. They have seen some things. They have grown a real business. I think a lot of people drop out of real estate quickly. And you have to do things a little differently to stand the test, if you will, and to be one of those visionaries. So let's go ahead and get into our backstory a tiny bit. I think it was 8 years ago. I worked for EV as a marketing director for a different branch. Yeah. And so I knew you then just a little bit. What, you were just getting into EV at the time?
Yes.
Engel & Volkers?
Yep. So in 2018, I converted my independent brokerage to Engel & Volkers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what was that called, the first one?
Tropic Coast Realty.
Okay.
Yes.
When did you start that?
In 2007.
Really?
Yeah, so I was Tropic Coast from 2007 to 2018. So honestly, it was really hard, taking my baby, because I built that.
For sure.
But, I recognized that the market was changing. Yeah. The shift was changing. And I just felt like it was going to be harder to be an independent and not have the type of support that you can get from a huge brokerage.
Yeah.
Or a huge, branded brokerage.
You got in at 2007, so that was an interesting time in real estate. I feel like that was a good time to get in, to be honest. It kind of helped you see the harder side of real estate first.
Exactly. I got licensed in 2004, and then in 2 years, I knew I was going to have my own brokerage. Yeah. And then in 2007, the very beginning of 2007, I started it. But I always say that if you, I started the worst time ever, honestly. Right. But I always tell my advisors, good agents aren't made in good markets. Right. Good agents are made in awful markets. And, in 2018 was an okay market. And then I opened my beachside office right in the middle of COVID. So as I have this history of doing things when it's not easy. Yeah. So, but, I feel like if you can do it then, there isn't anything you can't do.
I totally agree. And like you just said, the good agents are not made in the good times. So what kind of things do you think... I think in today's market, it's a little difficult, right? People are feeling that right now. Yep. Times have changed a little bit. So what do you feel like you learned from those beginning times that are coming to play now, where you're like, this is a little bit of a harder market again?
So I feel like it's still about the old school ways of doing real estate. It's the relationships. It's the consistency. You gotta grind, right? And it's so easy. Everybody gets in this business and think, I can sell real estate. It's so easy. It's not easy. Right. I think now, though, it's easier, but yet it's harder in the sense that we have more technology. Yeah. But it's harder in the sense that we have more technology, right? So you're just trying to figure all of the things out. But if you just stay back to your basics, you remember the relationships, you're consistent with what you're doing, and every type of marketing isn't going to work for each person, right? Sure. So you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for me, it just worked early on. I got into direct mail, and I got into branding, and I got into the relationships, and really, really honoring and valuing those relationships. Yeah. And it is completely paid off over the years. Plus, you meet great people that are in your lives forever.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you said something in the beginning there that's kind of interesting. You got your license actually in 2004, right? And you said you knew that you were going to start your own brokerage.
I did.
I guess that's that visionary part, right? So what was that in you that knew that you were going to do that?
So I have how can I say this without making myself sound so bad? No, I just have a drive that I think you either have it or you don't. And, I'm working for, I started not knowing anything, obviously, and started with a brand and got no help. It was backstabby. It was just, and then at the same time, you're seeing the unethical, at the time, some really bad mortgage brokers. So then I got my mortgage license. I'm like, I don't know. I just knew like I can do this differently.
Yeah.
And I've always been that person. So I have some issues with micromanaging a little bit, but I just saw
self-awareness
that,
is good.
Yeah. I just saw that there's better ways to do this. And, again, and I worked unfortunately, I started with a company that truly it wasn't about the relationship. It was about the transaction. Yeah. And I wanted to sleep at night, right? I wanted to know that what I was doing was truly helping people. And it wasn't just about closing that deal. So right away I knew I could change things. So
that makes a lot of sense. Did you come from a similar industry or?
I did not.
Okay. What did you do before?
So there's a whole long story, but when we moved here from Maryland in the end of '96, my husband got transferred. I found out right away I was pregnant again. So while I was pregnant, I didn't really do anything. And back in Maryland, I worked for a CPA.
Okay.
I did public taxes, and I didn't want to get back into that. And then now I have 2 babies, and I know no one here, right? The boys were 14 months apart. So when I was in school and in college, I would always bartend. So I ended up bartending, right?
Yeah.
And ended up working at a restaurant that I ultimately ended up owning because I just looked around and saw.
Yeah.
And honestly, that was probably the hardest job, but the most rewarding job ever. But I had an opportunity when my kids were like 4 and 5 to get out of the restaurant and just start fresh.
Yeah.
And I did. I took it. My husband wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm like, oh,
you're like, I can't.
Oh my gosh! So I gave him a year because again, you remember I'm coming from a restaurant industry, working 90 hours a week every week. For
I worked
years.
in restaurants as well, so
you
I can totally understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I took a year off, and trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I knew I couldn't be a stay-at-home mom. I just honestly didn't want to get back into the restaurant business. I didn't want to get into taxes. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And one of my customers from the restaurant was a house flipper, and he had become friends of our family, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you just get your license and do my stuff? You can make a little fun money." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that's literally
that's how it started.
And I just can't do anything halfway, and that's kind of been one of my branded taglines for my entire career: 100% nothing less.
Yeah.
Right? I can never do anything halfway, and I should have known that ultimately when I started doing real estate part-time, that I'd end up.
You're like, I know what that really means.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
oh, man.
That's what it means.
That's
so that's how I did it.
Are you still friends with that person that got you into it?
Occasionally, yes. Yeah. We still, I see him occasionally. It's just harder now as life gets in the way. But we do reach out. It's funny, when my boys turned 16, we bought his mother's car. His mom couldn't drive anymore.
Oh, really?
So like through the years, years and years and years and years, we stayed in contact, and it just has gotten a little bit less. But yeah, it's been amazing. I met some of the best people.
Yeah, when I'm hiring people, if I see that they've worked at restaurants before, I immediately think something a little different. They have to learn how to communicate with people, and they have to know how to work quickly on their feet, and I think it's a really big skill.
1,000,000%. I think anybody in the restaurant industry is going to be amazing in real estate.
Yeah.
Because you know how to communicate with people.
Which is the biggest thing, really.
It is, and how to really form those relationships. And I was very much front of the house, right? I was there. Same. I was, you always knew who I was, and I just took those skills and
definitely transferable.
And transferable, and it's done amazing, I think, for my real estate career.
Man, that's awesome. What are you doing with your agents right now in this market to kind of help them? Or advisors are called on England Brokers. How are you helping them right now in this market?
So what we're trying to do right now is just train. We are doing a lot of farming. We're starting like big farming classes.
Yeah.
We're getting people to identify, their farming area. We're really trying to hone up on the additional technology skills to be relevant. I hired a marketing director. We have a transaction coordinator. So we're bringing on people to support our advisors to be able to do what they do, and to be able to do it well. So that is, real estate's hard, and especially learning all of the technology, and most of my advisors have been in the business a long time. So we're still trying to figure out how to stay relevant, right? I think we're all really good at what we do,
right.
But there's just so much more opportunity if we utilize technology.
Yeah, and I think it's not always who's the best, it's who's the most known. I think that's super important. And, today so many agents, I'm sure that have built really good businesses, and now they're sitting here at the, maybe 20 years in, and the thing is, like, people are coming in that truly are not as good of an agent.
Yes.
Like, they don't have the experience,
right. Yes.
but they're just making headway because they know how to grab attention.
Yes, 100%. And us old school agents, right? Old school agents, being in front of a camera wasn't natural.
It was not even slightly required.
No. Yeah. Right? YouTube and podcasts and all of these things. So we're and we are more conscious, getting in front of a camera. So, it's one of those things where you're like, you don't want to record a video like, I don't look good today. I got bags. I didn't sleep well last night. So getting our advisors to understand, just do it.
Yeah.
Right? Just do it, because it doesn't matter. People aren't looking at you, or like, you think you don't look like you normally do, but you really look like you normally do, but you're so critical of yourself.
Right.
So honestly, just getting over that to continue to be relevant has been a struggle.
Yeah. And the only one thinking about that is the person on camera.
Yes.
Nobody else is thinking about it at all.
Cares. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you can just get past that and just know, like, you are being seen over and over and over, and that is just another touch. And it's so important because you got to be ready when your potential client's ready.
100%. And you just nailed it. Like, that's the word, touch.
Yeah.
It's touches. And that's what I tell our advisors. We talk about how you have to have more contacts, because it's like a funnel, right?
It is.
The more that you put in, the more chances you have coming out. And you have to do that all different ways now. Like, when I was growing my business, I was all about direct mail, because that's all there was.
Yeah.
And I totally killed it with direct mail. I mean, direct mail.
Did you go with the farm specifically?
I did. I went with farm. That's what I started. I direct mail and I farmed.
Yeah.
And then I took that and I built those relationships from my past clients. Like, I never lost touch with my past clients. And that's why my business now is all organic. It's referrals and past clients and past client referrals and my farm.
Yeah. I think that those basics are just so important, and they're almost forgotten nowadays. They are. And I think, of course, I'm biased. Like, I own a media company. I think it's really important, but I do believe in the basics too. It's like, if you just, first of all, learn how to communicate with people, know how to go shake a hand or, follow up, reply.
Right.
Super important. And then if you just do the basics of farming, you just go knock on those doors, you go to the open houses. It's all about people.
It is.
Yeah, I think we're just missing. And it's like, we think of this stuff, right? Talking to the camera, we think of this as like a digital handshake. And what's really cool about the digital handshake is you can do it over and over and over. Yep. And then there's so many times I'll walk into a room and people will be like, oh, I've seen you online before. Yeah. And it's like, great. Yeah. That's the point.
Exactly.
And it's cool to see it like come to fruition there.
Oh, for sure. And I think that is what would make the best for us, a best advisor, is blending the two, right? So that's why I had mentioned that when we open our new shop, I want to have a video blog room. I'd like for my advisors to be able to easily do this and give them the tools. So when you ask, like, what are we doing to try to help our advisors? It's really giving them the tools, and it's thinking outside of the box to try to help them grow.
That makes a ton of sense. What do you think about, I think in today's market, we're seeing a lot of houses sit. We're seeing a lot of houses that are being taken off of the market. They're having price reductions. In my opinion, I think that takes a little bit more of an experienced agent that's able to have those kind of more difficult conversations up front. What are you, maybe I could be a little wrong there, but like, what are you seeing?
Totally exactly what you're saying. Yes.
Okay.
So what we're seeing is the unique products or the higher end products are still selling, and they sell fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Or if you have a pool, properties with a pool are selling quicker.
Really?
They just are.
Okay.
Because nobody wants to go through the hassle of putting in a pool.
Yeah.
Right? And you can
and they're so much more expensive than they used to be.
Holy moly, yes.
Yeah.
When we put our pool in, 24 years ago, I think it was like, I don't know, $35,000.
Yeah.
With the screen and the deck and all of the, all of the extras. And now to do what I have would probably be $130,000.
It's wild.
So people do want pools. So, or if it's super updated, but it's still got to be priced well. Back in the day, every property has a range of value, right? And we could really push that range of value to the very top of the market and sell at that top of the market and sell it pretty quickly and sometimes even higher than that top of the market. I could walk in a property and, before I go see a property, I have an idea of that range and I can walk in and be like, this is where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And now, unless you have that unique product, you have a pool or you have something else, pushing it to the top of the market,
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous now, right?
Yeah.
So you're right. You have to have those hard conversations with the clients, and those conversations are what are your goals, Mr. Seller?
Right.
Because if I have a seller that, I know I could get that top of the market number, but it's probably going to take us 120 days.
Right. And then that doesn't look good, like racking up the days on market.
Correct. That doesn't look good.
Yeah. It's like, what's wrong with your house?
Exactly what's wrong with your house. So
Yeah.
it's really a fine balance. And then, of course, now, in addition to that, we're competing with the new builds.
Yeah.
And so
especially like Palm Bay and
Palm Bay and Viera.
Yeah, Palm Bay and Viera for sure.
I tell my Palm Bay sellers, traditional sellers, if they don't have a pool or they don't have anything like that super crazy, don't even sell right now.
Wow.
Because they can literally go down the street, get a brand new house, and it's not even
the same
house.
price.
Yeah, for the same. But more importantly, it's the builders are buying down the interest rate to 4.99%. They're giving them $20,000 in closing costs.
Yeah.
A traditional seller cannot compete with that. So, but if you can have those hard conversations with a seller and say, hey, let's maybe price it at the top end of the market, but let's buy down their interest rate to 4.99 or 5%. Let's
just being a little creative.
You have to be creative in this market. And I think if you're creative or you have a unique product, it is still selling, but you just have to be super transparent with your sellers now.
Yeah. Are you way more comfortable now having those conversations when you walk into a listing presentation?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I've been comfortable for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's made my career really, because I always am transparent. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
And that's just not my career. That's in my life.
Yeah.
Right. My friends know if they want the truth,
honest.
like, ask Marcie, if we want to know. So I think I've always been comfortable with that, but after doing this for 20 years, I have the confidence to back it up, right? So when I sit there and I say, hey, this is why I'm telling you this, and let me give you an example of why we're doing this, I have the history, I have the story, because trust me, everything I learned is because I made mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my advisors. You learn more from the mistakes you made than from doing everything perfectly. And I've got 20 years of mistakes.
Yeah.
I've learned from them. So
what do you think was one of your biggest mistakes you learned over these 20 years? What's like something that really hit home? And
I think honestly, it's just knowing your contract and paying attention to detail. I can't tell you, like, in my beginning of my career, I bought a washer and dryer because,
did not convey.
Did not. And I'm like, oh, but I could have not bought that washer and dryer.
Yeah.
But you know what? You always have to do the right thing. So I think that's probably the moral of the story. If you make a mistake, own it and fix it and don't make it again.
Yeah.
Right. So,
absolutely.
And over the years, we've learned to do certain things that help us and help our advisors not make those mistakes by having personal property inventory documents that the seller fills out, and like included, excluded, like being very, very specific, having certain verbiage in our contract that is very, very specific. So again, we've learned through those mistakes.
I'm sure. Yeah. Are you having people right now do any like pre-listing inspections?
I haven't been doing that.
Okay.
It's funny. I just ran across, we're under contract with a buyer right now. And our buyers just did the inspection and found out there's a roof leak. And when I was talking to the agent, I was like, "Hey, we don't have the inspection report yet, but there's a roof leak." She's like, "Really? We had a pre-inspection, and it's not a little roof leak."
Yeah.
So so it's like,
oh,
yeah. So it's like,
interesting.
So again, it's finding the balance to what you really should be doing in advance.
Makes sense.
And I don't necessarily know if you need to have a pre-inspection. Again, I think it really depends on the property, but I think it's having those
some properties, it's like, this is a great home.
Exactly. But it's having those conversations, because I think that's the worst part is when you have a seller that thinks their house is perfect and you do have inspection issues, minor inspection issues, because every inspector's finding something. They just are. So it's having those conversations in advance with your seller. Like setting the expectations is probably the best way to say it. If you set all those expectations, then you can overcome all the hurdles.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I feel like another problem is just during that same conversation that you're having is people have these unrealized gains that they they want, and it's like, well, my house was worth X, and it's like, right, but we didn't cash out at that time.
Right. Exactly.
That's a tough thing.
Yeah. Or I love when they say, but I need this.
Yeah.
And you have to.
The market is the market.
The market is the market, right? Just because you need to get out $200,000, now is not the time to sell it. It may not be, right? So again, being transparent and just being honest and telling them out of the gate.
Do you focus on any farm area yourself right now?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. So I really do a lot of Grant. I live in Grant, so I farm. I've been farming in my neighborhood. I probably have sold the most properties in in Grant than probably any agent.
Yeah.
So I love that. It's funny. I'm actually in the process. I'm actually going to start a new farm area.
Oh.
Because I want to prove to my advisors.
That's a cool
how
way
it
to
works,
do it.
right?
Yeah.
So we'll actually have to have another conversation, and maybe a year from now.
Yeah.
Okay, how did that happen? What happened from that? So kind of a follow up. But mainly Grant. When I first started, I was farming a lot more, and I always tell my advisors, if you're gonna start. Don't stop unless you die.
Absolutely.
Right? And the only reason I stopped was because I hate to say it, I just got too big. I had too many, and then I started growing organically. So I was able to kind of really reduce what I was doing and really focus on just the one area that I really wanted to specialize in. And we do a lot beachside because I have a beachside office. But for me personally, like Grant is my love.
I mean, that point there of like, don't stop. I think that's with truly anything. If you are doing videos, if you're doing postcards, you can't do just one video.
You can't.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to do it over and over and over.
Over and over and over. And over and over. And that's
over and over,
and that's the problem. Like everyone wants the instant gratification, right? We call it the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And real estate is not the low hanging fruit.
It's like you'll get lucky once in a while.
Exactly right. You'll get that one. It's like I had a referral, and we looked at literally 2 new builds, and he bought, and I was like,
wow, that never happens.
Yeah, I'm like, well, that was easy.
Yeah.
But that's so rare, and you just can't stop.
Yeah.
And I think the key is having a good plan and having a mix of, like we had talked about.
Yeah, a couple
how
different
are we
things.
going to have those touches for the next 12 months, and then reevaluating those touches and then changing with technology. And that's what we're really trying to get better at.
We have a saying around here: consistency is the only real cheat code. And I just love that because it really kind of brings it home. It's like, this is truly the only way that you're going to win.
It is.
Yeah. And we've seen it over and over. It's like if you take a pause on something, or if an agent takes a vacation for, let's say they go to Europe for a month, and then like 3 months later, they're like, why do I not have any closings this month? You just have to be consistent over and over.
Yeah, when your pipeline dries up because you aren't doing the consistent things, you definitely notice it. And that's probably the hardest part, because as you being in the industry, real estate doesn't always turn off.
Right.
So sometimes you are like, whew. So you have to find that work-life balance too. And I always tell my advisors, now let me preface this by saying, unless there's a deadline, right? There's nothing that I can do at 8:00 at night that I can't do in the morning, right? So you will not find me negotiating contracts at 9:00 at night. My sellers don't even want to do it, right? They don't want to do that. So, but again, if you have an inspection deadline or something, we'll be working until midnight.
Whenever you need to.
Whenever you need to. But that's the key, finding also that work-life balance too.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest opportunity for agents right now?
Oh, goodness, that's a test, right? I think the opportunity really is the technology.
Yeah.
And trying to take a step back, figure out what you were going to focus on, and learn that skill. And if you take that and you're consistent, that's an amazing opportunity, because there's enough business in this town for everyone.
Yeah, there is.
And I think if you build a good reputation, you're easy to work with, and you continue to be consistent, and you use the technology, it's limitless.
Right.
I used to have this conversation with my husband. He was an engineer in business development with a big defense contractor. And I used to say to him, it doesn't matter how much harder you work, you're really not going to make much more than your salary, right?
Yeah.
But in real estate, you get out of it what you put into it.
Right.
So real estate is limitless. So I think that's the opportunity, right? If you can take all of these things and you really want to make this number, you can easily attain it, but you have to be consistent.
Yeah, what's fun about real estate, and in a lot of other similar industries, but real estate, it's inputs and outputs.
Yes.
So how many inputs can you do?
Yeah.
And then there's an output to that, right? If I make 100 phone calls today, something's going to happen.
Yes.
Like it will happen.
Yes.
If I make 100 videos this month, something will happen.
Right.
And I think it's like it's also, there's pros and cons to the industry, right? And one of them is, well, you don't have a schedule. So you can wake up at, whenever, and you have to be committed and accountable to actually make it work.
Yes. And we are trying to hone our coaching and accountability
Okay.
process program,
Yeah.
because EV provides us with a lot of great tools. And that's one of the things that we are really trying to hone in on, is to find out because not every advisor wants to be held accountable.
Right.
So again, so we're trying, my advisors
Listen to
are
them.
my clients
Yeah,
also.
absolutely.
So you're really listening to them and try to figure out, okay, how can we help you grow and what is going to help you, and tailor the plan to them to help them grow.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Are you doing anything specific to kind of keep your pipeline full year round? Because it feels like you're always busy.
I am. I'm always busy.
Yeah.
So I just do some standard basic things.
Yeah.
And
it always comes back to that, doesn't it?
It does. And something I started early on in my career was keeping in touch, right? And that's what we call it our kit, right? And it was a hand card. Well, it was actually a card printed through Vistaprint, but but the card, what we would do is, like, we would look at what are the holidays for the entire year, right?
Yeah.
And we would pick a unique holiday, and then we would figure out, okay, how can we tailor that holiday or something that's happening that month to real estate with a kind of a funny twist, and then give them something in their little card.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would mail out. So, like, National Eye Month, right? It was like,
Okay.
thank you for making my vision clear was the tagline in the card, but then we put like a lens cleaner, so again, so it's
another touch point.
It's a touch
little
point,
piece of value,
but it's a memorable touch point, right? And even if my clients are throwing the card away, they're still seeing my face. And I would send it every single month to every single closing I ever had. Didn't matter even where they lived, and I hand signed every card. Right. So I think now an advisor or an agent wouldn't have to do it that much, because then they could do that maybe one month, and then the next month they could do a different touch. But again, it's about the touches. But that single-handedly, and I still consistently do that. So and when I would not send a card, or when I was moving into my old building, I just couldn't keep up with it. So it was re-engaging them and admitting my mistake, or maybe being like, oh my goodness, like, I'm so sorry, I fell off, I can't even remember, but it was something clever that we put in the card, but it was just like owning it and being like, okay, we're back, and so
that's cool.
So so that would be kind of like my tip, I think, to an agent or advisor, is that if you do fall off, if the consistency stops for something,
own up to
don't
it.
be afraid to get back in and own up.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and just own it. Like, hey, but don't be. I used to call it the disappearing server game when I was in the restaurant industry. Right.
Yeah.
Like, if the kitchen's backed up, don't just hide.
Yeah.
Right. Just come right out.
30
and be
minutes later, it's like, where have you been?
Exactly. Because that's going to make someone upset. Just own it, and then just get back in and re-engage. And I think if you consistently do that, you're really respected from your clients or from this when you get back into it.
Do you think a realtor should pick a niche when they're first starting, like a first-time home buyer, investor, etc.?
There's definitely different opinions about that. I feel like a specific niche, while it has its benefit, the real estate industry is just too broad to really hold on that. I'm all big, pick your farm niche, right? But I think, maybe if you are a previous teacher, that would be I'm probably not really giving you a very clear answer. So I think it
it's
just
like
depends.
You can, but you don't need to.
Exactly, right. You can, and maybe for certain types you could, and it would be beneficial. For me, I've never been big on that specific
Maybe it could be a good way to start, where you just don't have any. Maybe you are a teacher, and it's like, this could help me get in, and then you maybe do a little rebrand 2 years later. It's like, we serve all of real estate.
100%, yes, because you can service all. But what I don't think you should do is if you're doing residential, don't try to do a commercial.
Right.
Or if you're doing, residential, don't try to all of a sudden break into the income producing properties. So yes, in a way. So pick your niche, but pick it based on what type of real estate you're going to do, and then maybe from there you can broaden it. Yeah,
I think it's I remember learning like 10 years ago that there was such a huge difference between residential and commercial. Commercial it's all numbers.
It is.
Yeah, and I think if you're a residential agent, and I'm still not, like, I'm not trying to speak intelligently about it, but if you're a residential agent and you're looking at commercial, that's like a different world that you have to learn.
Totally different world. Yes.
Yeah.
So what we've done at Engel Volkers is we actually have, as you know, because you started there, the previous owner of the different office did commercial all his life, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of a natural progression for them. So we have kind of capitalized on that.
That makes
and
sense.
we have advisors who specifically focus on commercial.
Okay.
Right. So that way we cannot try to blend the residential and the commercial, because it's just too hard, because it is so different.
I love that you're not slowing down. You're speeding up, if anything, right? Like we talked before this about a new opportunity that you're doing. Where does that come from? Do you have, like, what do you anticipate your career looking like 10 years from now?
Oh, goodness gracious. So if you ask my husband, who has already retired, we would be traveling the world right together.
Yeah.
It's funny. So I don't want to say I'm at the end of my career, because I'm certainly not.
It doesn't feel like it.
It does not feel like it. But I think in 10 years from now, I would like to maybe have built a team, an actual boat luxury group team versus just the brokerage.
Yeah.
And I would like to be working more on that versus
on like a legacy style.
Yeah, the legacy style, so that I can take that time off, because my husband, he's been retired almost 4 years, and I'm not gonna lie, he is living his best life. Right?
Is he?
He is having so much fun.
Yeah.
He cycles all over the country. He flies model airplanes. He's never home. He and his retired buddies. Right.
He's like doing it.
He's doing retirement right.
That's awesome.
And when I'm ready to do it, I want to do that 100% too. But you're right. I need to build the legacy, so that in 10 years from now, I'm not, I don't want to be that agent who's, 85 years old, still working also, right? I want to build that legacy and really make sure that my people are still taken care of, because those relationships.
Well, it takes good leadership.
Yeah.
Top down. Like you need people below you that can continue it forward. Is that what you think you'll do? Like just keep the brand going forever?
Yes. Yeah. I believe I will, for sure. But you're right. It's the people. Like, Evie aligns themselves with the most amazing people. We're building a culture versus building bodies. Yeah. And again, there's no bad brokerage, right? There's no bad brand. There's no bad there's no bad style. It's
what you align with.
It's what you align with. And I think Engel & Volkers has been all across the world, has been a boutique brokerage with a global presence, focusing on culture and relationships. And so I'm really excited about when the new shop opens up. Really, really I don't know. So once I open that shop, I may still be working this in 10 years, because I'm so excited about that shop.
You can send this clip to your husband.
Yeah. And I'll be like
preparing.
Yeah, I'll be like, shoot, she's not retiring. So let's just prep it. Let's just be transparent, Conway. I'm not retired, no.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see what happens. And I think there's an opportunity, and again, the market is crazy, and I'm freaking open another office. I like to continue to do things when they're hard, right? But I really feel like when that shop opens, because Engel & Volkers, they're not offices, they're shops, because we have the iconic shop concept, and it's getting people in your shop. I want to get back even more to those basics, and we're doing some really cool things at our shop.
Because you're gonna have a lot of walkability.
Yes. Yeah. I actually have a dog wash station.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we're gonna have dog wash Saturdays.
Yeah.
We're gonna do things where the kids come in and they on once a quarter, and they're building their little craft project. We're gonna have art shows. We're really gonna do things that get people into the shop and build those relationships, and not worry about the transactions. And I think that's the opportunity, is really, really utilizing, going back to the basics and utilizing.
It's like the money will come, because you're just taking care of people.
You're just taking care of people.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I'm excited because I vision, right? And I'm going to probably have to get you to train me. When Meg O'Malley's is so backed up, right? And you've got a line outside my shop is only a couple doors down from Meg O'Malley's, literally going out there and having
with a microphone,
right? And having conversations. So here's what we were saying. There's no limits in real estate,
no limit at all,
right? So I'm excited, right, to see what happens, and that's why I can't wait to look at this podcast a year from now and see where I am in a year from now. That's
fun. Do you think that everything that you just said right there is what mainly attracts realtors to your business?
I do. I think so. Yeah. And I am reachable and I'm approachable. And even though I'm a working broker, I am a very accessible broker. And I think people see my vision. And it's honest. It's about energy. I've had people ask me so many times over the years, what is the one thing that you've done, or what's the one thing that makes you stand out? And while there are a lot of ones, I think the one thing is energy and passion. Right? people
You gotta have that vision.
They do, and people feel it. Like, they don't want to go looking at properties with Eeyore, right? They want your passion and they want the fun, but you also have to reach your audience too. So again, you just learn those skills as you're in it.
Absolutely.
Longer, so.
Oh my gosh, it matters so much. Well, if people want to join Evie with you, how should they reach out to you?
So they should probably text me. That's probably the easiest way. You can call me. I do answer my phone.
Good.
I'm still one of those agents that answer their phone, or advisors.
Yeah.
But they can reach me at 321-698-1794 anytime.
Okay, cool.
Even if they just want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Or it's about sharing. If they just want tips, they want to know how I did it, feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to share because, again, there's enough business in this town for everyone.
There absolutely is. One thing you said there about answer your phone. Everyone in here knows, there's 2 rules of business. You do what you say you're going to do, and you answer your phone. It's like, if you do those 2 things, you will grow.
You will grow.
That's the secret.
Yes.
Going back to just, if there's one tip for everyone, do those 2 things.
Yeah. And it's funny. That's just so basic.
Yeah.
And people forget about those
basics.
But how can you be in real estate and not change your phone?
I know. Listen, I have done some cold calling of different agents and whatnot. And I'm telling you, it's probably 70% don't answer their phone.
Wow, that's staggering.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
I've done it many times, and every time I'm like, wow, your business is hurting because of it. I could be anybody.
Right. But you know what's more sad to me is that listing agents that do this, their sellers don't know.
Right.
Like, that to me is super sad. Like, sometimes you can't even get to them to get an offer. And the sellers don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
Right. I wish there was a way I could fix it. Like, I could wave my magic wand and fix it all. But I just think if you're going to do it well.
I will say, before I got into this industry, I didn't know the difference between a good agent and a bad agent. I really didn't.
Right.
And just from working with, truly the best across the state, it's night and day, the difference between a good agent and a bad agent. And if you're a buyer or a seller out there, I would really implore you to look, do some interviews and see who picks up their phone,
Yeah, exactly. And ask those tough questions. Don't be afraid to be able to justify what you do if they have those tough questions. But you've probably noticed, because you talk to so many people across the state, all of us that are a top producing agent, we probably all do similar things.
Yeah.
Right? There's no real secret sauce.
Right.
It's just
taking care of people.
It's taking care of people.
And telling the truth.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Marcie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I feel like this was a great conversation. People are going to learn a lot from this. And then, obviously, guys, if you have any questions or you want to talk to Marcie, she gave you her number, reach out.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.